and ready to fight. Tail of the tape looks this way. Pretty much even. They are both 31 years old, both disciplined in jiu-jitsu. A size advantage, at least height-wise, given to John Lewis. Let's see if that has anything to do with the reach ability. And of course, they're both under 160 pounds or less, with Lewis and Lowell Anderson. Now, John Lewis has said already that he'd like to fight Pat Miletich. He thinks he'd match up well. Pat, hold your thoughts there. Let's get the official introductions first from Bruce Buffer.
Ladies and gentlemen, this next bout is a lightweight bout consisting of 3 5-minute rounds. Beginning with the fighter standing to my left. He is a jiu-jitsu expert making his UFC octagon debut. Standing 5 feet 6 inches tall, weighing in at 158 pounds. He comes to us from Fairfield, Idaho. Please welcome Lowell Anderson. And his opponent, standing to my right, he is a jiu-jitsu expert with a mixed martial arts record of 7, 2, and 3. Standing 6 feet tall, weighing in at 160 pounds, fighting out of Las Vegas, Nevada. Please welcome John Lewis.
So John Lewis and Lowell Anderson, lightweights 169.9 and under, and both well under the needed weight. The last lightweight fight went the distance. Let's see how this goes.
Are you ready? Are you ready? Let's get it on.
All right, 2 jiu-jitsu guys. Which one knows how to strike? We may find out very quickly. Lewis is the man with the body painting all over and the black and white striped shorts, and Anderson in the full black trunks, fighting out of Fairfield, Idaho.
Pat, I've got to ask you, as a lightweight champion, I'm sure you identify people and like to watch people and try to figure out their skill levels and tactics. What do you think of Mr. Lewis? He is ripped. Reminds me of Roy Jones, the way he kind of just is loaded and he's just waiting to explode and throw a bunch of punches.
His weight, you know, he's not quite 170 pounds. He's a little light, but I'm sure he could beef up to match up with somebody bigger in our division like myself.
Pat Miletich joining us for this fight for some commentary, and then he'll be back in the corner of Jeremy Horn. Quick glance off the chin from Anderson to Lewis. Oh, man, he really can strike, and he has got Anderson in trouble. Very quick also, John Lewis. Tell us once again, Pat, what you are most impressed with about John Lewis.
He's just quick, and he's a very intelligent fighter. He can strike very well, and he's skilled on the ground. Everything about him, he's a dangerous guy. In here, he's going to be able to show his striking ability because he's fighting a guy that's done mostly strictly sport jiu-jitsu.
Right.
So this is a good opportunity for me to watch exactly what he does on his feet.
Well, I think you might have the best seat in the house.
I would believe so.
Oh, that left connected. Lewis is really happy to keep it on the feet here, and he said that before.
I had spoke with him before the fight, and he said this is what he wanted to do, keep him up. And I thought that would be a smart way to go about it because there's no reason to go to somebody's strength.
Well, they say wrestle the boxer and box the wrestler. Well, certainly when you get too similar, if you have another skill set that you're extremely articulate at, bingo, use it, and that's exactly what Lewis is doing.
Well, and Lewis has started training in Japanese kickboxing at 15 years old, so it's not as if the strikes are totally foreign to him. He received his black belt in that system and then trained and earned his black belt under legendary grappler Gene Judo LaBelle. So, I mean, this is a guy who has worked with Rickson Gracie, with Gene LaBelle, kickboxer. You know, you say Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, but yet he has that Renaissance feel to his skills, like our champion sitting next to me right here, Pat Miletich.
It's just another example with Lowell Anderson. He's a great ground technician, but without the firepower on his feet, it makes it much tougher to take somebody down. If they don't respect your stand-up, it makes it easy to defend the takedown.
Now Anderson trying to at least exchange some punches here, Pat, and in the same breath is he trying to set up an opportunity to bring the fight to a different place? Or is he just happy to punch because he connected there?
Well, John's throwing straight punches and Lowell's looping his punches, so the straight ones are going to get there first most often, and I think that's where Lowell's going to lose in the exchanges. Anything can happen, but odds are John's going to dominate.
So if he can get it down, that's in Lowell's best interest.
Exactly.
1:15 remains in round one of 3 5-minute rounds here. We'll have a 5-minute round matchup between Tito Ortiz and Frank Shamrock. Middleweight championship still ahead tonight. Tell you what, these two guys are keeping very, very busy.
Well, the crowd seems pretty excited. There's not a whole lot of scoring going on, but there's a lot of leathers being thrown.
John's had him hurt a couple times. I thought he would have kept the pressure on him after he hurt him. I think John's just playing it safe and being smart.
He's still, I mean, he is very, very quick on his feet. And now they finally wrap up, and a knee delivered once and twice.
You got to give Lowell a lot of credit. He's fighting hard.
How frustrated is Lowell Anderson right now that he can't get it to his will?
I definitely, you can see the frustration in his eyes, but the guy's got a huge heart. He's out there slugging away, and that's great.
How much does frustration play in fatigue?
A lot, because if you're not doing what you want to do and you're fighting the other guy's game, you're fighting their pace, they're in control, they're taking the fight where they want to go, and they know where they're going the whole time, so it's easier for them to move. When you're the one that's constantly trying to switch and react, you're the one that's wearing yourself out.
I used to want to choke the coach with the whistle because he knew when he was going to blow it and I had to react to it, and I used to hate it. Anybody can get on cue with those whistle drills if you know when the whistle's going to be blown. A good round for John Lewis. Great striking, very good speed, and like you said, Pat, he had Lowell Anderson in trouble, but he wasn't able to finish him off.
Yeah, I think the key for John is it's obvious every time he's connected with his hard left, he needs to work a double jab and then drop the left in on it. It's getting him in every time, and I think that's the key for him, is keep pumping that jab in his face and then dropping the left in.
And Lowell Anderson there had a right hand, but that was one of the few times he was able to connect at all. Most of it has been this style with Lewis aiming and throwing straight punches, as you said, Pat, as opposed to looping ones. And he seems to have carried most of the action, and certainly he doesn't seem to mind at all staying stand-up.
Turn it around.
I think he's very comfortable.
Lowell, turn it around. John, turn it around.
And we're ready to start round two.
Are you ready? Let's get it on. Come on.
And what will Anderson need to do to get inside? Can he slip a punch, or?
No, it's what he needs to do when you're having problems taking somebody down is you need to make them commit to defending against your strikes and then go right behind your own strikes. And he's having trouble doing that. You really need to make the guy respect your punches also.
How about the fence? Do you think pushing him into the fence and then trying to go down like this, now go after the legs?
I just don't think he's got the strength to do it. He needs to connect on some punches and then drop in on his legs fast and take him down.
Lewis leaning Anderson into the fence.
She sounds busy. Looking good. Come on.
Fighters chest to chest. Lewis disengages, wants to keep distance, get back to striking. Well, to Anderson's credit, he's not being over-aggressive, trying to make something happen and eating leather by walking into anything that Lewis plans on throwing. He's staying within himself, even though it must be frustrating for him that he can't get to Lewis's hips and can't get Lewis to the ground.
Yeah, if he is in a panic state in his head, he's not really showing it too much in the ring, so that's good. Nice uppercut.
Now, we also think of takedowns because we think we have to get the person down. What about just dropping in on an ankle and trying like an Oleg Tatar on a leg lock of some kind just to get the fight to go down to the ground?
That's a possibility if you can get in deep enough. I just don't see Lowell being able to do that with John.
Lowell was a teenage powerlifting champion, competing in 3 different weight classes, and You mentioned the Gracie background. He received his brown belt from Horian Gracie, one of the founders of the UFC, and fought 6 dodo challenges for the Gracie Academy. Lowell, one of the founders of the Beverly Hills Jiu-Jitsu Club. And John Lewis certainly dominated in the first round. And I guess it's a scary feeling the way Lewis looks and how loose he was in the first. Now he's tied up for pretty much the first time here in the match. But it's one of those that with one punch can end very quickly. At least you get that feel, Pat. Do you agree?
Yeah, definitely. With John's already connected on a couple and hurt him. You can see that he can end the fight if he connects a couple more times. And the thing with John is he can take the fight where he wants it to go. He can stay on his feet, or if he decides that he wants to take it to the ground and see what Lowell's got on the ground, he can take it there.
Well, it's interesting, John Lewis, they both consider themselves specialized in jiu-jitsu, but John made some interesting comments pre-fight about how jiu-jitsu changes all the time now, and the fight world has evolved. And of course, we've had many long conversations with you about that, Pat, and you just cannot, and Jeff knows this too, you can't just be disciplined in one thing anymore, enter the gates and expect to have any success.
You've got to be skilled at everything: punching, kicking, knees, elbows, and submission grappling, along with wrestling takedowns. A lot of guys are still missing the boat. I'm amazed that this far along in the game, but there are people who are not cross-training a lot. And you know, at one point in my life, when I started doing martial arts after wrestling my whole life, I quit wrestling for 2 years and just concentrated on kickboxing because I wanted to get good on my feet. And I think that's what a lot of guys need to do is abandon some of the stuff that they've done their whole life, and it'll come back just like riding a bike. It'll come back to them quick.
Lowell Anderson figured out how to get this fight to the ground.
Jumping into
the guard and dragging him down.
Yeah.
But it did work, and let's see if now if Lowell Anderson can find a way for his jiu-jitsu skill to outsmart Lewis's jiu-jitsu skill.
Come on.
I know Lowell's very technical. I've known about Lowell for years. Saw some films. I've been fighting in the Gracie Academy. When people would come in and challenge the Gracies, they put Lowell on them. And Lowell did very well a long time ago. So,
you know, it's interesting too, and the rounds are certainly an advantage a lot of times, but now it has taken almost the duration of 9 minutes for Lowell to, if you will, bring it to his world. No disrespect to Lewis's jiu-jitsu skills, but now this is where the round system becomes somewhat tactically of a disadvantage, because in 35 seconds they'll get the minute rest, they're back up on their feet.
Which Lowell does not want to see, I'm sure.
You had that right. And you know, you want to talk about the renaissance and the development of Pat Miletich, and he told the story about quick wrestling. Pat has often been criticized, and I can say this, champion, with you sitting next to me, because we've talked about it, for being too tactical. Well, if you think Pat Miletich is too tactical, look at the tapes from the last show, Return of the Champions in Cedar Rapids, and see how Pat Miletich threw the leather against Andre Pedinaris, and Lee Malone put on a great show that night, Pat.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
Time has expired here in the second round, and so far Lewis in control. And the question I suppose I put to both you, Jeff, and to Pat is, can Lowell get it down in his world again quickly to begin the third, and if so, how does he do it?
Come on, brother.
I'm starting to agree with Pat. I don't see a whole lot of ways, especially when the only way you could get it to the ground is push to the fence, which I thought was a good tactic, because now the bodies are close and upright. But, you know, he's landing down in the guard. Lewis knows what he's going to do before he really even tries it, because he's great at jiu-jitsu as well. And really, we didn't have a lot of action there for the last 2 minutes.
The striking changes everything. It really does. If these guys were in a sport jiu-jitsu match with gis, I'm sure we'd see a lot of rolling around and going for things. But when you have to defend the punches, it makes it a lot different.
Now we've got some great matchups still on the card tonight. Jeremy Horn will be next up to take on Jason Godsey, Paul Jones and Chuck Liddell in the middleweight division, and then our title fight between simply Frank and Vito. Frank Shamrock and Tito Ortiz quickly in this break. Both sides talk to their corners, and we get set for the third and final round. Lewis back on his feet, where he has been the dominant fighter.
Now, what do you think of Lewis keeping his hands down and stand up?
Lots of knees. Lots of knees. He got Anderson good. And the towel is thrown. The fight is over. And John Lewis is victorious.
I was wondering when he was going to start throwing the knees, because he's got so much height on Lowell. All right. That was beautiful.
I want to do it. Sounds good to me, man.
Heads up, job done by the corner. of Lowell Anderson also. Heads up job done by his manager, Tom Sutton, and his corner to throw in the towel.
Yeah, it's a real good one.
An explosive burst from Lewis. Anderson came in throwing heavy lever, and as they clinched, Lewis started bringing up the knees, and that one there connected squarely on his forehead and caused a cut. Quickly right there, the towel came in and Lewis disengaged. And that's the beauty of the sport, in that they're always in control. They're thinking sport, thinking athletes,
Just like your cut.
and you could see as soon as Lewis saw the towel, he disengaged.
Hey, Pat, what did we say a couple of minutes ago? This is the type of fight that you feel that at any second, John Lewis could take over, and he just did.
Yeah, it was just a matter of time before he landed something. Lowell put it on the line, though, and give him credit. He put it on the line. He came out and got after it.
Now, a great fight. Two lightweight matchups, very impressive, and more challengers for the man sitting next to me, Pat Miletich, for the official word and the announcement of our victor. Here's Bruce Buffer.
Ladies and gentlemen, at 4 minutes and 42 seconds of the third round, the fight has been stopped with the winner, John Lewis.